We start this bulletin with breaking news coming out of Midtown Manhattan from the United States. A gunman opened fire near a corporate skyscraper on Park Avenue, injuring a NYPD officer and at least 2 civilians.
Coast 11 o'clock here in New York City, and this is a special edition of America's Late News, Fox News at Night, as we continue our breaking news coverage of the mass shooting in New York City. It happened in Midtown.
This man drove 2,500 miles with a military-style rifle, walked into one of New York's most secure skyscrapers, and opened fire in broad daylight. But one of the victims wasn't random. He was working on a top-secret NFL brain trauma project, and he survived. Was this a coincidence or a planned hit to send a message to the NFL? Let's uncover the truth behind one of New York City's darkest days and the warning signs the world ignored. On the evening of July 28, 2025, something really scary happened in New York City. It was just a regular Monday, and people were wrapping up their day at work. Around 6:28 p.m., cameras caught a black BMW pulling up outside a tall office building at 345 Park Avenue. The man who got out looked like he was ready for war. He wore body armor and carried an M4 carbine rifle, basically a really powerful gun. He walked right into the building like he belonged there, but then, without warning, he started shooting. The first person he shot was a woman in the lobby who tried to hide. He then shot an off-duty police officer who was working security that evening. His name was Didarul Islam. He wasn't on duty with the NYPD that night. He was working a side job as a security guard to support his family. He was only 36 years old. He moved to New York from Bangladesh and was proud to be a cop. He had 2 little boys and was expecting a 3rd child soon. People who knew him said he was brave, kind, and always willing to help. When the shooter came into the building, Officer Islam did not run. He stood his ground. Sadly, he was shot while trying to protect everyone else. After those first shots, everything turned to chaos. People started screaming and running. Some people hid behind desks and furniture. Within just 90 seconds, the whole lobby was like a battlefield. But the shooter didn't stop there. He went straight to the elevators, rode up to the 33rd floor, and kept shooting. That floor belonged to a real estate company called Rudin Management. He shot a woman in the hallway there. Then there was a senior executive from Blackstone, a big investment company. He was one of the first people hit during the lobby attack. He probably didn't even know what was happening before it was too late. His co-workers were shocked. One of them said he wasn't just a boss. He was like family. The fourth person, a woman whose name hasn't been released yet, was also killed while trying to take cover near the front desk. She didn't even make it upstairs. She was caught in the crossfire and had no chance to escape. After doing all that damage, at around 6:34 p.m., just 6 minutes after stepping out of his car, he turned the gun on himself and shot himself in the chest. By 8 p.m., police said the building was safe again. The shooter was dead, but in that short amount of time, 5 people were shot, 4 of them killed. The area around East 51st and 52nd Streets was shut down as emergency crews arrived. Cops, ambulances, and even FBI agents came rushing to the scene. The man behind the shooting was 27-year-old Shane Devin Tamura, and honestly, nothing about his past screamed killer. He was from Las Vegas, Nevada, and most people who knew him never expected he'd do something like this. In high school, Shane played football. He was athletic, social, and even funny. A classmate once said he was goofy and the kind of guy who'd crack jokes in class. No one ever saw signs of violence or anger in him, but something clearly changed as he got older. After school, Shane worked as a valet at a casino in Vegas. He wasn't rich or famous, just a regular guy. He lived alone, and over time, people said he started becoming more quiet and distant. He didn't hang out much anymore. Some said he just wasn't the same person. But still, he didn't have a criminal record, no history of being violent, and he wasn't part of any gang or group. Then, after the shooting, police found a 3-page handwritten note in his pocket. In it, Shane wrote that he believed he had CTE, which is a brain condition caused by taking too many hits to the head, something that happens a lot in football. He said he had mood swings, memory problems, and dark thoughts, and he blamed all of it on the NFL. He felt like the league ignored people like him, players who weren't famous but were left dealing with mental health problems caused by the sport. Shane wasn't the first person to believe they had CTE. Over the years, a lot of former NFL players have either taken their lives or struggled badly with mental health issues because of this condition. People like Junior Seau and Aaron Hernandez were later found to have had serious brain damage from football. Their families were left heartbroken and searching for answers. What's even scarier is that the building he attacked wasn't just some random office. It actually has the NFL's main headquarters on the 5th floor. That's probably why he chose it. It wasn't just a shooting, it was his way of trying to send a message. Shane even wrote in the note that he wanted doctors to examine his brain after his death. He hoped they would find proof of CTE so people would finally understand what he was going through. In his mind, he thought he was doing something that would force people to listen. But no matter what pain he was in, hurting others is never okay. You'd think a building like 345 Park Avenue, which has offices for major companies like the NFL, Blackstone, and KPMG, would have super tight security, right? But that wasn't the case at all. And honestly, it's kind of shocking how easy it was for Shane Tamura to walk right in with a huge gun during rush hour. First of all, there were no metal detectors at the entrance. That means nobody was checking for weapons. Anyone could walk in carrying something dangerous and no alarms would go off. Second, there was only one NYPD officer on duty, and sadly, that was Officer Didarul Islam, the hero who lost his life trying to stop Tamura. Everyone else at the front was part of private security and they weren't allowed to do much. Now, here's the weird part. New York has a rule for these paid detail officers, basically police officers working extra shifts at private buildings. They can't stop or search someone unless the person is already doing something threatening. So even if someone walks in with a suspicious looking bag, unless they actually pull out a weapon, guards are not allowed to check it. It's a law meant to protect people's rights, but in this case, it clearly didn't work. And get this, the security guards didn't even have bulletproof vests. Management apparently said it was too expensive. So these guards were left totally unprotected in a building that could obviously be a target. A place with high-profile tenants, a lot of money, and big names, and yet it had less security than some high schools. People who worked in that building said they always assumed it was safe. Nobody expected something like this could happen there. But the truth is, if a person has a gun and bad intentions, and the building doesn't have strong safety systems, it can take just seconds for everything to go wrong. One of the most surprising parts of the shooting was that one man actually survived getting shot, and he might be the key to understanding more about the attack. His name is David Chin, and he works for the NFL as a digital media engineer. But he's not just your regular tech guy. David was leading a pretty important project. He was working on technology that tracks how hard football players get hit in the head during games and practices using sensors in their helmets. Basically, he was trying to help the NFL understand and prevent brain damage in players. That might not sound super exciting to most people, but now it's raising some serious questions. Investigators are trying to figure out if David was shot just by accident or if he was a target. Think about it. Shane Tamura believed he had brain damage from football, and he blamed the NFL for it. David Chin was working on a project that dealt directly with the same issue Tamura was angry about. So the big question is, did Tamura somehow know who David was and what he was working on? Was this just a random moment, or was there a connection? So far, the police haven't said for sure, but they are looking into it. And now that David is awake and recovering from surgery, his story could give investigators more information that wasn't mentioned in Tamura's handwritten note. When the shooting started at 345 Park Avenue, it didn't take long for the police to respond. In fact, within just 4 minutes, the NYPD was already there. That might not sound like a big deal, but during a situation like this, every single second matters. By the time they arrived, Shane Tamura was already dead, but they had no way of knowing that yet. So they treated it like an active shooter was still on the loose. The response was massive. SWAT teams, FBI agents, and even K-9 units rushed to the scene. Streets around the building were immediately blocked off, and helicopters started circling above. People who were inside nearby buildings were told to evacuate, and they had to walk out with their hands up, just in case someone tried to pretend to be a victim and sneak away. It looked like a full-blown war zone in the middle of Manhattan. Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who leads the NYPD, later said that fast response helped stop things from getting worse, but she made sure to give special credit to Officer Didarul Islam. Even though he was working as part of a building security that day and off-duty, he didn't hesitate. He was the first person to confront the shooter, even though it meant putting himself directly in danger. Sadly, Officer Islam was shot during those first few seconds, but what he did was incredibly brave. According to the commissioner, his actions likely saved a lot of lives. If he hadn't been there or hadn't tried to stop Tamura, the shooter might have had more time to go further into the building or reach more floors. The police later did a floor-by-floor search to make sure no one else was hiding or involved. They also helped injured people get out safely and worked with medics to treat those who were hurt during the chaos. After police made sure the shooter was no longer a threat, their next step was to check out his car. The black BMW that Tamura had driven from Las Vegas was still double parked outside the building, and what they found inside showed that this wasn't some last-minute outburst. It was something that had clearly been planned ahead of time. Inside the car, officers found a rifle case filled with extra ammo, so Tamura was clearly ready for more shooting if it had come to that. They also found a loaded .38 revolver, which is a small handgun. So even if this main rifle had jammed or run out of bullets, he had a backup weapon ready to go. Alongside the weapons, police discovered a backpack with prescription medication inside. The medicine had Tamura's name on it, proving it was his. They haven't said exactly what the meds were for, but it might give investigators more clues about his mental health. Even more disturbing, they found a notebook filled with strange, emotional writings. He wrote about football, pain, death, and how he felt ignored. It sounded messy, almost like he was pouring out all of his emotions before doing something terrible. What's especially chilling is that Tamura had legally bought the M4 rifle in Nevada. It wasn't some illegal weapon. He didn't steal it or buy it on the black market. He got it the same way many Americans legally buy guns, with a license. After that, he drove 2,500 miles across the country, going through Colorado, Iowa, and New Jersey before ending up in New York. Right after the tragedy, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell sent an email to everyone who works for the league. In the message, he called the shooting an unspeakable act of violence and said the NFL was going to add more security. He also promised to provide counseling and mental health support to any staff members who needed help. Many people were still shaken up, especially since one of their co-workers was badly injured during the shooting. Over at Blackstone, things were just as emotional. The company lost one of its top executives during the attack. While his name hasn't been shared publicly, the team at Blackstone was deeply affected. The CEO made a statement saying, "We grieve with the city and our team," and they held a private memorial to remember their colleague. Even KPMG, which didn't lose any employees, spoke out. They released a public statement to thank the NYPD and other first responders for acting so fast. They also said their thoughts were with the families of the victims. Most companies in the building stopped all work for the next day so employees could recover, talk with counselors, or just take a break from the stress. After the shooting, leaders from New York and beyond started speaking out. First, Mayor Eric Adams called the attack an act of evil and ordered that all city buildings lower their flags to honor the victims. He also made time to visit Officer Islam's family personally. The mayor told reporters that Islam was a hero who died protecting the city he loved. Governor Kathy Hochul also made a statement. She thanked the police and first responders for acting so quickly and helping get the situation under control. But when reporters asked her questions about gun control laws, she didn't have any strong answers. A lot of people noticed that. It felt like she was trying to avoid talking about how easy it was for Tamura to legally bring a rifle into New York from another state. And that's when the real debate began. People on social media and in the news started asking, how is it still legal in 2025 for someone to buy a powerful assault rifle in one state and drive it across the country without breaking any laws? Shane Tamura bought his gun legally in Nevada, and even though New York has stricter gun laws, those laws didn't stop him from bringing the weapon in. Hey, if you think stories like this need to be told and not ignored, then hit that subscribe button right now.